Has the Halifax spring market already cooled off, or is it only just getting started? The April 2026 numbers are in, and while the national headlines are still talking about a slowdown, the actual data shows a very interesting story. In today's video, we are going to be taking a deep dive into the numbers and look at where things stand compared to the pandemic market. One quick plug before we get started. If you're thinking about making a move in the near future and you're not sure where to start, you can click the link in the description and book a free no obligation 30-minute phone call with me. Whether you want to go through some choices or options or just pick my brain, you are more than welcome to reach out. So we're going to start off with the total amount of sales. For the month of April, was 402 sales, which is down slightly from the same month last year, which was 417, but up from 326 last month. Total sales year to date, 1,220. So what about new listings? That comes in at 827, which is actually up by approximately 12% compared to the same month last year, and up significantly compared to last month, which was 574, which is pretty typical for this time of year. The total new listings year to date, 2,215. Which would lead to a 55% new listings to sales ratio. So I thought it would be interesting for this video to look back at the peak of the market, which in most cases was around this time in the year 2022. And back then, the number of new listings year to date was actually quite similar, 2,167. During the same 4-month period, there were 1,611 sales. So this works out to about 75% of the homes that were coming on were selling back then. But I actually remember one specific month where I believe it was somewhere around 90% of the houses that came onto the market sold within that 1 month. Crazy times for sure. Moving on now to the average showings per listing, which actually did not change at an average of 5.3. But in the same month last year, it was actually 6.7. So homes are getting on average one showing less compared to last year. So what about average price? Well, when you look at the year over year data, it actually went up by 3.6%, bringing the new average price to $618,507. So if you've watched my monthly market stat videos in the past, you know that I also like to look at the average sale price solely based off the homes that sold in the specific month. And this one actually took me by surprise at first. The average price for the month of April 2026 was the highest ever at $666,840. I actually had to double and triple check this one because it really threw me off. Like, I'm not feeling anything in the market, specifically in this past month, that would justify that. Although that number is actually correct, I did some digging to find out the source. There were actually quite a few listings that sold between the $1 to $2 million price range, which is one of the reasons why this number is high. But the main reason, you may have seen all over the news and social media that there was one property on the Halifax Peninsula that actually sold for $11 million. So now that would make sense why this number is so high. Average days on market. Looking at the year over year data, this came in at 38 days. Specifically for the month of April, slightly lower at 36 days. Now this is down from 44 days last month, but slightly up from 32 for the same month last year. Now on to list to sale ratio, which came in at 99.2% on average. Now this was down slightly compared to 100.3% in the same month last year, and up by about 0.4% compared to last month. But overall, most homes are getting close to asking price. Now, what about the total inventory, which is how many homes are available for sale on the market currently? As of May 1st, this came in at 1,253 homes for sale, up from 1,003 compared to last month. So we are actually starting to gain some inventory, which is typically what we would see in a spring market. So how about months of inventory? which is a metric we use to track which type of market we are in. And that currently sits at 2.7 months, which is up slightly from 2.6 compared to last month and 2.3 compared to the same month last year. So we are continuing to slowly creep into a balanced market. Based on the last 6 months of market data as opposed to the year, months of inventory is actually higher at around 3. And it's also important to note that depending on which price point the home is at, it probably definitely feels like a balanced market, while some still feel like a seller's market. Now moving on to my favorite metric, which is how many homes are selling at or above the asking price. So let's start at asking price. In this case was 52, which is 12.9% of the listings that sold that month. As far as over asking goes, this was actually 122, or 30.3%, which is up from 27.3% compared to last month. So to sum things up, yes, there is more inventory hitting the market, which is what we needed. There's also been quite a few buyers that have come out of the woodwork as well, and the market seems overall pretty stable despite national headlines, but also still quite competitive. Is there any specific metric you want me to cover in the next monthly market stats video? If so, leave me a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you for watching.